A loving mother kisses her 16-month-old daughter goodbye, steps out for a quick shopping trip at a nearby mall, and vanishes into thin air. No body, no crime scene, no answers, just an innocent toddler left without her mother, and a family desperately searching for answers that may never come. On November 19th, 2006, in Jefferson County, Colorado, 33-year-old Nonceba, Nonnie Dotson disappeared without a trace. But this wasn't just any missing person case. Nonnie was a dedicated Air Force nurse, a single mother, and a woman who had recently made some life-altering decisions that would later raise serious questions about her disappearance. Let's rewind to understand who Nonnie Dotson really was. Born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, Nonnie was known for her vibrant personality and unwavering dedication to helping others. She served as a registered nurse at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, where her colleagues described her as meticulous, responsible, and absolutely devoted to her profession. But it was her role as a mother to her daughter, Savannah, that truly defined her life in recent years. In November 2006, Nonnie and little Savannah were visiting Nonnie's brother, Tony Dotson, and his wife in Jefferson County, Colorado. It was supposed to be a relaxing Thanksgiving vacation. On that fateful Sunday morning, Nonnie told her family she was heading to Prairie Center Shopping Mall, just a short drive away. She was planning to get a smoothie and do some shopping. She left around 1 p.m., wearing a brown jacket, blue jeans, and brown boots. Before we continue with what happened next, if you're finding this story as intriguing as it is disturbing, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Join our true crime community as we uncover more cases that deserve attention and justice. The shopping trip should have taken no more than a few hours, but as the afternoon turned to evening, Nonnie's family grew increasingly worried. Their calls went straight to voicemail. The mall security cameras showed no sign of her ever arriving. Her credit cards remained unused. Her cell phone never pinged another tower after leaving her brother's neighborhood. What made this case particularly concerning was what investigators would soon discover about Nonnie's personal life. She was in the midst of a complicated situation involving her daughter's father, Edward Vell. Court records revealed that Nonnie had been pursuing child support and had recently won a significant legal battle regarding Savannah's custody. She was due to appear in court in Texas just days after her disappearance for a hearing related to these matters. Adding another layer of complexity to the case, Nonnie had recently taken out a life insurance policy naming her daughter as the beneficiary. While this isn't unusual for a single parent, the timing would later become a point of interest for investigators. The initial search efforts were extensive. Law enforcement combed through the area around Tony Dotson's home, deployed search dogs, and conducted aerial searches. But Jefferson County's vast, rugged terrain held no clues to Nonnie's whereabouts. It was as if she had simply evaporated into the crisp Colorado air. As investigators dug deeper into Nonnie's disappearance, they uncovered a web of relationships and circumstances that painted a complex picture. The first person of interest was naturally Edward Vell, Savannah's father. The timing of Nonnie's disappearance, just days before a crucial court hearing, raised red flags. However, Vell had an alibi that checked out. He was in Texas at the time, hundreds of miles away from Colorado. But here's where things get interesting. In the months leading up to her disappearance, Nonnie had confided in friends and family about feeling uneasy. She had even taken steps to document potential threats, keeping a detailed record of concerning interactions. Was this the paranoia that sometimes comes with contentious custody battles, or was Nonnie sensing real danger? The investigation also revealed that Nonnie had been planning significant life changes. She was considering leaving her position at Lackland Air Force Base for a civilian nursing job. She had been researching new apartments in San Antonio, looking for a fresh start with Savannah. These weren't the actions of someone planning to vanish voluntarily. As the hours turned into days and days into weeks, investigators faced mounting pressure. They conducted extensive interviews with everyone in Nonnie's life, her colleagues at Lackland, her friends in San Antonio, and her family members. Each conversation seemed to add another piece to the puzzle, but the complete picture remained frustratingly elusive. One of the most puzzling aspects of the case was Nonnie's cell phone activity, or rather, the lack thereof. Her last known cell phone ping came from near her brother's home. After that, nothing. In an age where digital footprints are nearly impossible to erase completely, Nonnie's sudden technological silence was deafening. Experts analyzed her phone records, looking for patterns or anomalies that might hint at what happened that Sunday afternoon. But the data trail went cold as suddenly as Nonnie had vanished. The investigation took another turn when authorities began looking more closely at the Prairie Center shopping mall angle. While security cameras showed no sign of Nonnie, investigators discovered something curious. Several witnesses reported seeing a woman matching Nonnie's description at a different shopping center several miles away. These sightings were never confirmed, but they opened up new possibilities about her movements that day. Law enforcement also focused heavily on the timeline immediately following Nonnie's departure from her brother's house. They meticulously reconstructed every possible route she could have taken, interviewed residents along these paths, and searched for any security cameras that might have captured her journey. The effort was massive, but the results were minimal. As months passed, the case took several unexpected turns. Anonymous tips began flowing in, each one promising to be the key to solving the mystery. One caller claimed to have seen Nonnie at a gas station in New Mexico. Another swore they spotted her at a restaurant in Oklahoma. Each lead was thoroughly investigated, but none led to concrete evidence of Nonnie's whereabouts. The Air Force community rallied around the case. Nonnie's fellow nurses and military colleagues organized their own searches, distributed flyers across multiple states, and kept her story alive in the media. They couldn't fathom how one of their own, someone trained in survival skills and known for her level-headedness, could simply disappear. The investigation also revealed interesting details about Nonnie's final days before the disappearance. She had been making plans for Savannah's future, including scheduling doctor's appointments and looking into preschools. She had recently updated her will and life insurance policy, actions that investigators initially found suspicious but later recognized as responsible planning by a single mother. Perhaps most heartbreaking was the impact on little Savannah. At just 16 months old when her mother vanished, she was too young to understand what had happened. The courts eventually had to make difficult decisions about her custody arrangements, all while hoping that somehow, somewhere, Nonnie would return to reclaim her role as mother. As the investigation into Nonnie Dotson's disappearance entered its second year, investigators began employing more sophisticated techniques. They brought in specialized forensic teams to re-examine every piece of electronic evidence. Nonnie's computer, recovered from her home in San Antonio, revealed she had been researching domestic violence resources in the weeks before her disappearance. This discovery led investigators down a new path, prompting them to dig deeper into her relationships and possible threats. The case took an unexpected turn when investigators uncovered a series of anonymous emails Nonnie had received in the months leading up to her disappearance. These messages, while not overtly threatening, contained concerning undertones that Nonnie had mentioned to a close friend. She had printed these emails and kept them in a folder, along with detailed notes about unusual incidents she'd observed: cars following her home from work, hang-up calls in the middle of the night, and strange occurrences at her apartment. In 2008, 2 years after Nonnie's disappearance, a new investigative team took over the case. They brought fresh eyes and modern technological resources to the investigation. One of their first actions was to re-interview everyone who had been in contact with Nonnie in the weeks before she vanished. These new interviews revealed previously unreported details about Nonnie's state of mind and activities. A colleague from Lackland Air Force Base remembered Nonnie mentioning that she felt she was being watched at work. Initially dismissed as workplace stress, this information took on new significance when cross-referenced with surveillance footage from the base parking lot. The footage, though grainy, showed an unidentified vehicle appearing multiple times in the weeks before her disappearance. The investigation also delved deeper into Nonnie's military career. As an Air Force nurse, she had access to sensitive information and worked with high-ranking personnel. While there was never any indication that her disappearance was connected to her military service, investigators had to explore every possibility. They discovered that Nonnie had been considering a transfer to a different base, citing personal reasons in her preliminary paperwork. One of the most heart-wrenching aspects of the case was its impact on Savannah. As years passed, She grew from a toddler to a young girl who knew her mother only through photographs and stories. The family made sure to keep Nonnie's memory alive, celebrating her birthdays and sharing happy memories. They created a special memory box filled with Nonnie's personal items: her favorite perfume, her nursing pen, and letters she had written to Savannah before her disappearance. In 2010, a major development occurred when a hiker in Jefferson County discovered a piece of jewelry that matched the description of what Nonnie was wearing when she disappeared. This discovery prompted a massive new search of the area, involving cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, and dozens of volunteers. While the search didn't lead to Nonnie, it did uncover other evidence that helped solve two unrelated cold cases in the area. The investigation took another significant turn when cold case detectives began applying new DNA testing methods to items found in and around Nonnie Dotson's neighborhood. They were able to establish a more precise timeline of Nonnie's last known movements. Security footage from a neighbor's house, previously thought to be too degraded to be useful, was enhanced using new technology. It showed a vehicle of interest leaving the area around the time Nonnie disappeared, but the image quality wasn't sufficient to identify the make or model definitively. In 2012, the case received renewed attention when a true crime documentary featured Nonnie's story. This exposure generated hundreds of new tips, each of which had to be methodically investigated. While most led nowhere, one tip stood out. A former resident of Jefferson County claimed to have seen a woman matching Nonnie's description getting into a dark-colored SUV on the day she disappeared. This witness hadn't come forward earlier out of fear, but the passage of time had changed their perspective. The case also highlighted the challenges faced by military families dealing with custody disputes. Nonnie's situation was unfortunately not unique. Many service members struggled to balance their military duties with family court obligations. Her case led to discussions about improving support systems for military parents involved in custody battles. Before we continue with the latest developments in the case, I want to take a moment to thank you for staying with us through this complex investigation. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the like button. Your support helps us continue bringing attention to important cases like Nonnie's that still need resolution. As the years continued to pass, investigators began utilizing advanced analytical tools to process the massive amount of data collected in the case. They created detailed computer models of possible scenarios, accounting for factors like weather conditions, traffic patterns, and cell phone data from that day. These models helped eliminate some theories while lending credence to others. One particularly interesting avenue of investigation emerged when detectives began looking into similar cases across the country. They discovered a pattern of disappearances involving parents engaged in custody disputes, though none matched the specific circumstances of Nonnie's case exactly. This comparative analysis helped investigators refine their theories about what might have happened to her. In 2015, nearly a decade after Nonnie's disappearance, a significant breakthrough seemed imminent when cadaver dogs indicated potential evidence in a remote area of Jefferson County. The ensuing excavation involved forensic anthropologists and lasted several weeks, but ultimately didn't yield any answers about Nonnie's fate. However, the effort demonstrated law enforcement's ongoing commitment to solving the case. The investigation also revealed more about Nonnie's final days at work. Her supervisor at Lackland Air Force Base reported that she had seemed distracted in the week before her Colorado trip, something extremely out of character for the typically focused nurse. She had also requested a schedule change for the following month, though she never specified why. Family members later shared that Nonnie had been writing in a journal in the months leading up to her disappearance. While most entries were routine, some suggested she felt conflicted about decisions she needed to make. The journal stopped abruptly 3 days before she went to Colorado, with a final entry that simply read, "I hope I'm doing the right thing." Today, Nonnie Dotson's disappearance remains one of Colorado's most perplexing missing persons cases. Her military ID card, driver's license, and credit cards have never been used since that November day in 2006. Her bank accounts remain untouched. The Air Force officially classified her as missing in 2007, but her case remains open in Jefferson County. Savannah, now a teenager, has grown up surrounded by family who make sure she knows about her mother's strength, dedication, and love. The family continues to maintain a website dedicated to finding answers about Nonnie's disappearance. They hold annual vigils, hoping that someone, somewhere, holds the key to solving this mystery. For investigators, Nonnie's case represents both the progress and limitations of modern forensic science. While technology has advanced tremendously since 2006, some questions remain frustratingly unanswered. The case file, now containing thousands of pages of interviews, tips, and forensic reports, continues to be reviewed periodically for new leads. Law enforcement officials stress that the case remains active, and they continue to follow up on new tips as they come in. They maintain that someone knows what happened to Nonnie Dotson on that November afternoon, and they remain committed to finding the truth. As we conclude this investigation, we're left with the sobering reality that somewhere between a brother's house and a shopping mall, a dedicated nurse, loving mother, and proud Air Force service member vanished without a trace. Her case serves as a reminder of the thousands of missing persons cases that remain unsolved across America, each representing a family waiting for answers and justice. If you have any information about the disappearance of Nonnie Dotson, please contact the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office or submit an anonymous tip through Crime Stoppers. No piece of information is too small. It could be the key to finally solving this haunting mystery and bringing peace to a family that has waited far too long for answers.